Hello, welcome to the daily English news program on Azərbaycan Television with the most important events of the day. I am your host, İlham Məmmədov. President İlham and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva participated in the opening of the new building of the Institute of Botany in Baku and reviewed the developments at the Botanical Garden.
The protection of the environment and the conservation of biodiversity are very important in the context of the recent intensification of climate change, desertification, and the disruption of the ecological balance. The QSC-də Executive Authority Head Eldar Azizov briefed the Head of State and the First Lady on the construction and reconstruction activities carried out at the Central Botanical Garden. The administrative building of the Institute of Botany of the Ministry of Science and Education of the Republic of Azerbaijan, built between 1935 to 1938, was in a dilapidated state and was replaced with a new building during reconstruction. The Department of Taxonomy of Higher Plants and the Herbarium Fund are located here. The collection of the Herbarium Fund protects 600,000 species of flora of Azerbaijan and other countries. The second and third floors of the building house an auditorium for 80 people, 3 laboratories, and other departments. The first floor of the new 5-story building houses the laboratories. It houses the plant resources and ethnobotany departments as well as a seed bank and a plant introduction department. along with the laboratories which include plant ecology, introduction and selection of ornamental plants, biochemistry of food and medicinal plants, woody plants, tropical and subtropical plants. The Central Botanical Garden has also other departments in operation. The Institute of Botany has been elected as a member of the Alliance for the Conservation of Dryland Biodiversity established at COP15. The further expansion of the introduction of trees and shrubs in the Central Botanical Garden, which has been closed for renovation since May 2022, represents a significant step in the greening of Bakun Absharon. The Central Botanical Garden, established in 1934 with the objective of safeguarding plant species and their genetic diversity within the flora of Azerbaijan, also served as a research facility. The greenhouse under construction at the Central Botanical Garden was also inspected. It features a bridge and a pedestrian crossing with a glass system that will be automatically opened and ventilated according to the season.
On June 20th, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a phone call to President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Ilham. During the telephone conversation, Antony Blinken hailed the progress made in advancing the peace agenda between Armenia and Azerbaijan, emphasizing that the United States is determined to continue supporting the normalization of relations between the two countries. He invited the parties to sign the peace agreement shortly. Noting the importance the United States attaches to its bilateral relations with Azerbaijan, the Secretary of State underlined the constructive cooperation between the two countries in achieving common goals in climate change and energy sector. Antony Blinken said that his country supports renewed and stronger bilateral relations with Azerbaijan. He also added that the United States would spare no effort in delivering a successful COP29 to be hosted by Azerbaijan, noting that peace has been ensured in the region and that the Azerbaijani side was an initiator of the text and underlying principles of the peace treaty. President Ilham Aliyev stressed ongoing efforts to advance the normalization process and the peace agenda on a bilateral basis. Praising the United States' determination to contribute to the peace agenda, the head of state underscored the importance of Armenia seizing its territorial claims against Azerbaijan, which are enshrined in the constitution, relevant laws, and internal regulations of Armenia in order to advance the peace agenda. President Ilham Aliyev emphasized that it's long overdue to officially terminate the non-functional OSCE Minsk Group's activities and all associated institutions to officially close the chapter on the conflict, which is a relic of the past. President İlham touched upon the long-standing successful cooperation between the two countries in the energy sector. He hailed the fruitful collaboration between the delegations of both countries in the fight against climate change and the preparations for COP29, and thanks the United States for the intention to support the successful hosting of COP29. The head of state emphasized Azerbaijan's value for relations with the United States and supported further strengthening and elevating the bilateral ties to a qualitatively new level. During the phone conversation, the sides expressed satisfaction with the high-level exchange of letters between our countries, reciprocal visits of delegations, and shared their views on important issues such as human rights, democracy, and respect for the rule of internal laws in the countries. Azerbaijan handed over the remains of the two Armenian servicemen found in the liberated territories to Armenia. Azerbaijan State Commission on Prisoners of War, Hostages and Missing Persons reported, as a result of searches conducted in the territories liberated from the occupation after the anti-terrorist measures carried out in September 2023, bone remains allegedly belonging to two people were found near the Buğdadağ mountain in the direction of Daşkəsən district and Mount Teve in the direction of Kəlbəcər district. The remains were identified as belonging to the two Armenian servicemen who died during a military operation on the Armenia-Azerbaijan border in September 2022. The Republic of Azerbaijan once again demonstrated its goodwill and commitment to the principles of humanism, handing over the remains of the two Armenian military personnel to Armenia on June 21st without the participation of third party or any other mediator. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs made another call to the EU to refrain from biased statements that undermine peace efforts in the region. The false and inflammatory allegations of the EU High Representative Joseph Borrell regarding the release of so-called Armenian prisoners and about the rights of Armenians who fled the Karabakh region are rejected. Spokesperson of Azerbaijan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ayxan Hacızadeh, stressed that the Borrell statements is yet another attempt to please Armenians and promote a narrative that has no moral and factual ground. It would be more appropriate if the European Union turned its attention to the evidence of Armenia's mistreatment of Azerbaijani prisoners of war and civilian detainees, as well as missing Azerbaijanis, Ayxan Hacızadeh added. An ammunition exploded in Jabral district. This was stated in the information released by the Ministry of Interior, General Prosecutor's Office and Mine Action Agency. According to the information, during the demining process carried out in the territory of Jabral district, liberated from the occupation, employee Fanama Ragif Isayev lost his life. Other employees who received different degrees of bodily injuries during the explosion were transported to the district hospital. Their conditions remain satisfactory. The prosecutor's office launched an investigation into the fact. Milli Meclis appealed to the president of Azerbaijan for the appointment of early parliamentary elections. This issue was discussed during the meeting of the parliament on June 21st.
Ölkəmizdə həm dünya səviyyəli tədbirlərin, həm də
The scheduling of both the world-class events and the parliamentary elections, which are of a great importance in our socio-political life, falls in November. In connection with preparations for international events and the holding of these events in the country, it is inevitable that certain restrictions will be introduced in infrastructure, transport, as well as in the field of security and other areas. In this context, one of the key responsibilities of the state is to organize parliamentary elections in accordance with the democratic principles, as well as to ensure the unhindered participation of citizens in pre-election public events and elections and free expression of will. In light of aforementioned considerations, members of the New Azerbaijan Party, which enjoys a majority representation in the Milli Meclis, approached me. They requested that I consider the possibility of appealing to the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan to call early elections to the Milli Meclis.
You can get in touch with us via our WhatsApp and Telegram accounts at 051-511-1956, through which you can report events you encountered, as well as share your suggestions and comments. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.